Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from the Memorial Art Gallery presenting the 69th Rochester Finger Lakes exhibition, a juried showcase of works by emerging and established artists from Western and Central New York. Opening June 28th. More at mag.rochester.edu.
From WXXI News, this is Connections. I'm your guest host, Scott Pukas. Our connection this hour took place just last week, June 20th, 2025. That was the summer solstice, which means the official start to summer movie season. Although that's not quite correct, because in Hollywood, the summer movie season starts much earlier. It used to be Memorial Day weekend was the big summer kickoff, but then blockbusters kept getting earlier release dates. We'd see hit movies in early May, and recent Marvel films even got a late April release before powering through the summer months on their way to big box office success. Regardless of your definition of when summer movie season starts, there is no debating that we are currently in the heart of blockbuster months. While there are blockbusters, we also have summer indie gems. Already we've seen the release of the Tim Robinson comedy Friendship, the whimsical The Life of Chuck, Celine Song's Materialist, and Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme, which features one of the best basketball scenes I've seen in ages, thanks to the charms of Bryan Cranston and Tom Hanks. In the blockbuster category, we have Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, Elio, F1, Megan 2.0, Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Fantastic Four, First Steps, Happy Gilmore 2, The Naked Gun, Freakier Friday. You're seeing the pattern here, right? All remakes and reboots and sequels. Not a surprise, but our audience is craving original summer stories. That's what we'll discuss this hour. I'd like to welcome our guest. We have Matt Passantino, film critic and writer for City Magazine, and Gwynifka, Greater Western New York Film Critics Association member and Bagel Dog influencer. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
I'm not going to explain that last anymore.
No need.
We'll let viewers look that up. Also joined by Jared Case, curator of film exhibitions for the Dryden Theater at the George Eastman Museum. Welcome, Jared.
Wonderful to see you again for the first time in like 3 days.
Yeah. Yes. We ran into each other at a 28 years later screening,
That's right.
which we both liked. We talked about that the last hour, so we won't talk about it much this one. Also joined by Jackie McGriff, photographer, founder, director, and co-producer for Our Voices Project. Always a pleasure, Jackie.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I like your shirt, too. Star
yes,
Wars.
Yes, of course, Star Wars.
You have the summer blockbuster going.
I had to rep.
And joining us by video, so if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see her. We can't see her, but you can. Megan Murphy, social media manager and storyteller for the Anomaly Film Festival. Welcome, Megan.
Oh, I like that I'm just a voice to some people. Hello,
Yes,
I'm
just your
here
voice.
with you always.
In our heads, we're questioning reality. Is this her, or are we just hearing stuff? I don't know.
Excellent. I love this.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about this hour, so we're going to try to pack in all the summer movie madness. Let's start by talking about films that have already released, some that we've already seen. We'll start with you, Jared. Are there any movies that really touched you, really made you swoon here?
Well, it's interesting that you framed it in a way that, you know, our audience is looking for indie stories, because what I've responded to recently was 3 films that I can strongly recommend that are all playing at the Little Theater right now. And then there's also a Wes Anderson film.
Oh, you weren't a fan?
I mean, it was fine. Okay. But 28 Days Later, Life of Chuck, and Materialist are all really great films, and in many different ways. Certainly, there is the tendency to upset expectations with both Life of Chuck and Materialists. And then there's 28 Years Later, which is just great to have the Danny Boyle style back. I mean, it's a bit crazy and a little all over the place, but it's also kind of part of the aesthetic of the film, which is really great. So we can talk about Life of Chuck incessantly if you'd like.
Oh, we will be. And if you could see us, if you're watching on YouTube, you may have seen an eye roll from Matt Passantino. So Life of Chuck, so we'll get there in a second, but on our panel right now, if anyone is on Letterboxd, one, please follow us. But we have 2 people who gave Life of Chuck 5 stars, and 1 person Matt, who gave Life of Chuck 1.5 stars.
Generous, wasn't it?
This is harsh. So we'll get there in a second, but first I'm going to go to Jackie. Are there any movies this summer that really, it was your film, one that you'd really want to recommend to people?
Listen, I know y'all talked about it last.
Go for it.
Okay, yeah, but I've made this my job. Go watch Sinners if you haven't already. It's an incredibly moving film. It is so it's something that's relevant. It's something that, again, in talking about its relevancy, it transcends time. It has such a wonderful cast. The cinematography is incredible. It'll have you talking about it for weeks. I certainly have. Like I said, I've made this my life. Basically,
that.
I also have a podcast called Representation in Cinema, shameless plug, where we have 2 episodes actually dedicated to this. One that's academic, and then just one that's just like talking about the film and just having fun. So if you haven't already seen Sinners, it's on Prime, and it's also on Max or HBO Max or whatever they're calling themselves these days. Yeah, so definitely see that one. Incredibly moved by that film.
I'm certainly hoping, if anyone is listening, I should add context that I work at the Little Theater. And we are hoping that we'll be able to play this for a one-off screening at some time.
Yes.
Don't hold me to that if we don't do it. I think we're hoping to. These don't always work out. Matt, so we know that there are some movies you dislike. We went over. Are there any, which movies that really stood out to you this summer that you've liked so far? And if there aren't any, that's fine too.
I rewatched Aaron Brockovich, so that's been my favorite movie of the year so far. Sinners is great. I always look to you for the pronunciation. I really liked Vulcan.
Oh, Vulcan Isadora.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that really kind of lingered with me. I also really liked 28 Years Later, and I didn't really like the first 2 all that much. So
that's interesting.
I just watched them, so these are not movies that have lived with me. So I watched the first one knowing that, it's gained in reputation since 2002 or 3, whenever it came out. I thought it was really boring. I'm not gonna lie. I thought the first one was really dull, and then the second one was whatever. And then I saw the new one 20 years later, and it was intense and it was moving. I was unexpectedly really into it, so I did like that one.
Okay, I like you recommending Vulcan Isadora. I like saying it. It's fun to say.
I think every time we speak about this movie, I'm like, Scott, how do you pronounce it?
But this film is. I like discovering those gems in the summer. So I like a blockbuster, just like the next person. That we're going to talk about those a lot. But I like going into a theater. You get the air conditioning, and you don't know what to expect. I did not know much going in. I knew enough to market it. That's my job at the Little. But it starts off as just these 2 friends, or maybe not even friends, acquaintances, and they're out in the woods in Michigan, and you can tell that there's something up, and they're doing something that seems like it could be a little dangerous, a little sinister, and then it all culminates in one of the most suspenseful scenes I've seen like this year. We have to be a little vague, because I think spoiling it will ruin it. But Matt, what is that your favorite type of summer movie, when you walk in with no expectations and then it just takes you by surprise?
Because look, I love a good blockbuster too, but I like a good blockbuster, and I feel like a lot of the times we go into summer movie season and it's just it's like Happy Meal toys of the movies. It's just like trying to just sell the product and whatever. So I like to be surprised, and like something like Vulcan Zadora. It was like Kelly Reichardt movie with like a bad attitude, and so I
like that description.
And so like love Kelly Reichardt, one of my favorite filmmakers. Love bad attitudes. And so, but then it lingered with me because it became this like morality tale after. And so while I think like the opening of it is okay, they're just kind of walking through the woods, whatever. And then like the thing happens, and then it becomes this really lingering like morality tale. And I thought that made it really effective and took the movie to the next level for me. And then I kind of sat with it for a while, and it lingered with me. So
nice. Megan, I did not forget about you in the video chat. What movies stood out to you this summer, if there are any?
I would love to be able to pull out like this some sort of like unheard of gem, right? But there's no way, as both a lover of horror films and as an artist, that I can say anything but Sinners. Like that, it would be a lie, and I'd be trying to be cool, and I don't want to be that person. When you see something there, you're like, I'm gonna be thinking about this for the rest of my life. That's there, which is pretty good for a summer movie.
So in our first hour, we dubbed this Sinners Summer. So I think if someone's been listening this whole time, we probably can form a Sinners fan club. And
Please.
we could
Please join us.
join us. That sounded like a little cultish.
It's interesting, Scott, because
Horror.
It
our-
feels like
horror.
inviting
It's
us
horror.
in.
Yeah,
Exactly.
one of us.
What were
Exactly.
you saying, Jared?
We're talking about, and I would add, earlier in the year, I would add Black Bag on the list as well. Another really great film. But we're all talking about films that with budgets under $100 million. So maybe not independent exactly, but they're not these big investments that studios have been making with the sequels, as you point out, for the summer. And I think it's also interesting that you put F1 in that it's original, but with Kaczynski, isn't it just like a new Top Gun, just in race cars?
Just
instead
on the
of-
ground.
Yeah, instead of planes.
Yeah, so it's what you were saying. It's from the director of Top Gun Maverick, which was like the summer movie to reignite summer movies, which came out a couple years ago. F1, will that have a similar impact? Brad Pitt stars in that, so it has that big name star. I'm probably dubious that it'll have the effect because it doesn't have the brand name of Top Gun. And Top Gun 2 is just an incredible film, and that's a hard standard to reach. But yeah, what you're saying is really interesting, and maybe that's why studios, if they're spending these hundreds and hundreds of millions, they're like, well, we want a story that feels safe.
Yeah.
We don't want to take a risk. But I think Sinners, which doesn't have a budget nearly as much as any of these other blockbusters, I would assume, I don't know exactly what its budget is, but that was like Ryan Coogler has done franchises, and an original movie, I think, has been his biggest hit in a lot of senses. I don't know if it'll end up being like make the most amount of money, but I think in terms of the conversation, I think it'll end up being his best film.
It's his passion project. People can feel that. People can feel the effort that went behind it. It's also something, and when people feel that, they go to the movies. I know people who've gone to see it like 6 times, and also it's something where, like, when it was out of IMAX because Thunderbolts, I think, was taking over IMAX for a while. Then when it went back into IMAX, I remember someone saying that I looked it up actually, AMC's website crashed the day that it was announced that it was going to be back in IMAX. That's how powerful this film is. That's how much it's moved people. And I'm hoping it does come out in a re-release. And I know that people are just going to flock to it because it's definitely touched something in a lot of people.
In some capacity, it'll be back in theaters, especially
yeah.
leading up to the Academy Awards.
Oh, for
That'll
sure.
be,
It better be. That's a whole other conversation, by the way.
That is a whole other conversation, but it's one of those that it's made such an impact that their genre bias is going to be hard to ignore.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's probably going to be one of the few movies that we're talking about this hour that will get attention from the Oscars. I mean, maybe other ones could, and maybe this is a time to go back to The Life of Chuck. So if you're listening and want to call in and let us know what summer movies you are interested in watching, 844-295-TALK, or if you're local, 585-263-9994. Let us know what you think of summer movies. Life of Chuck. So we have a clip that we're not going to go to right now, but we'll go to in a moment. I'll talk a little bit about my experience with this. I watched it on Little Theater Day, which is June 12th. So I was really in a good mood watching this film. It's based on a Stephen King short story, which I have not read. And it's directed by Mike Flanagan, who has adapted Stephen King before. He did Dr. Sleep. Of course, did The Haunting on Hill House. It was a very popular TV series on Netflix. So this film is told backwards. So it starts with Act 3, which is so mysterious. And again, as we mentioned the first hour and now this hour, we don't want to spoil anything because we want people to go see these movies and enjoy them as we did. So I'll be kind of tight-lipped with this, but it starts out very mysterious and you're like, what is happening? And it kind of culminates in a scene that I really took my breath away in a good way. And then it goes to the second act, which I thought was whimsical, maybe involved some dancing. Who's to say? It involved a lot of dancing. And then a third act that was kind of the heart of it. So I really adored it, and I know you did as well, Jared. So How did this movie speak to you? You've seen this multiple times, right?
Yeah, actually, I just came from seeing it a third time
Oh,
this morning. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I love that.
I want to make sure to see it as many times in theaters as I can, and I checked the little times there. It is there this weekend, but beyond that, you may not have a chance to see it. And it's actually really well timed because there's a great jazz drummer in the film called The Pocket Queen. So if you are a fan of hers or just want to hear some great jazz drumming in that middle section that may have to do with dancing. But I have a story as well because I was actually writing this review before Matt interrupted me this morning. I saw it for the first time at Toronto last year, and I went out of my way to see it. But I also, like, the next film I saw was Hard Truths, and then I saw 2 more films that day that I did not like as well. And so I didn't really have time to sit with it, but it really is one of those kinds of films that speaks to me. The structure you mentioned, we don't want to get into too much, but it's sort of a Memento-like in that you're starting with the end, and this is how mysteries are solved. This is how narratives are told. You don't know what the story is until you get to the end. So as you're unraveling the mystery of Chuck's life, you are going back in time to see how the present influences the future and how the past has influenced the present. And it all comes together, but it's also talking about the internal and the external life that we all have. It's talking about the marriage of art and science. It's talking about the relationships and how those influence us throughout time as well, and how we can sort of reflect on them and see how this is all sort of a melange. Our lives are built of all these sort of moments that influence each other and dictate which direction we're going to go.
See, if I had not already watched it, I would be so on board with that explanation. And I like comparing it to Memento, as it really does have not just the storytelling device of telling it backwards. I think it has those notes. Megan, have you seen Life of Chuck?
No, I feel bad. I do like Mike Flanagan's work, and I'm looking forward to it. But I mean, I'm sold.
This weekend, get out there.
I'll get around to it.
It is playing at the Little Theater. That'll be my shameless plug. Jackie, have you seen this one?
I have not. I loved that description, Jared. Still not sold. But
That's fair.
But yeah, no, that sounds like a lovely story. So I love hearing like other people talk about it.
It did my heart so much good. I actually took my wife to see it on Thursday, and she's like, "That was a beautiful film." I was like, yeah, it was. So I ended up liking it much more seeing it outside of the context of the festival than I did within the festival. It was still one of my favorites coming out of the festival, but now it's like, oh yeah, this is a Jared film.
Oh,
it's
I
like the
love
life
that.
of
It's
Jared.
a Scott film.
Yeah.
I like we talked about the last hour festival brain. Like, you watch, sometimes movies debut at a festival and the reactions are like, oh wow, this is mind blowing, this is great, and sometimes it's just that setting and it turns out to not quite be that. So it's interesting that your effect was kind of the opposite.
Yeah, that's how I start my review out on Letterboxd. Follow us on Letterboxd.
Yes, please do. Dryden is on Letterboxd. That's what you're saying.
And myself as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that two extremes. Like, oh my God, it's so amazing to be, at this early showing of this film with the actors and directors there, and it can really sort of hype you up for that reaction to the film. Or it's like, yeah, I've seen 7 films today, and I'm looking at them for work, and I'm not sure which ones I'm going to try to pursue or not, so it's all kind of mushed together and you don't have time to sit with it. Exactly.
All right, I'm gonna get to you in a second, Matt, as you've been waiting here patiently. We
To
do
rain
have
on
a
everyone's
clip.
parade.
I'm gonna make you listen to a clip before we. I do like to hear like different perspectives, though. I think that is one of my favorite things about talking about movies. Like, I don't want everyone to agree with me. I think that would be so boring if everyone just liked the same film I did. So it's nice that there's that much of a different reaction, like 5 stars versus 1.5. Like, that's wildly different. And I do get why this film would not work for others, like it worked for us, but I get why it doesn't. So this clip, Mark Hamill stars in it. I think he gives a wonderful performance. I don't know if you agree with that or not, Matt. But in this, he is talking about the power of math. So I wanted to avoid spoilers. So this is from Act 1, which plays as the last act. I think maybe it's from Act 2. I think it's from the Act 1 that plays at the end. So this is about math. Let's take a listen.
Math is something else, too. Some math that's called statistics or probability, it can tell you stuff about your future. It could tell you, for example, You're more likely to be drafted by a major league sports team than to make a real living as a dancer. The world loves dancers, it truly does. But it needs accountants. So there's much more demand, so there's much more opportunity. I know that might hurt, but it's the truth. Math is truth. It won't lie to you. It doesn't factor in your preferences. It's pure that way. Math can do a lot of things. Math can be art. But it can't lie. So, take another run at those two, because Chucko, you are good. You have art in you.
That was Mark Hamill from The Life of Chuck, probably the only summer blockbuster that we'll talk about that talks about math a lot. So as you could probably take from that scene, Mark Hamill is talking to his grandson, the titular Chuck, who wants to be a dancer. He wants to get into dance, and he's kind of persuading him to get into math, which I don't think this is a spoiler. Chuck is an accountant in the film, so it does end up working. So, Matt, we'll go to you. You've been very patient. Thank you. Life of Chuck. What did not work for you in this?
Everything. This is such a phony, hokey movie. It's just people just sitting around talking in bumper stickers for 2 hours. And I just found it such a The way I wrote about it for City was I just feel it stretches so hard for profundity that I just feel like someone pulled a muscle making this movie. Like, it's so phony.
Mike Flanagan is healthy. He is fine. He does his stretching. Do you think this would be one that if you watched it again, your opinion would go up a little? Or are you just like, I'm never watching this again?
I'll give it a shot again, sure. But I just, maybe I saw it in the wrong environment, which was my living room. And
Oh my God, the sound when at the end of that first section of the film, well, you know what happens.
I do,
don't
yeah.
want to explain. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, there's
You need
big
that.
thunderous
You need
sounds.
maybe as a sign of good faith, I'll go see it in theaters this weekend.
We gotta.
Yeah, this movie, I just when the screener was over, I was just like, what? Like, what was any of that for? Maybe it's like I'm a little bitter because like I did go to the school for like writing and ended up in finance. So maybe I just that speech was maybe a little bitter. Maybe
You dance in the street occasionally too. A lot of similarities.
Who doesn't?
to Chuck. Jackie and Megan, I'll start with Jackie. Have we convinced you to watch this? Or are we still like kind of lukewarm on this?
Nah. I'm gonna say, well, I mean, I know it's like a very small piece of the movie, but I'm listening to that quote and I'm going, this is not. First of all, as someone who is an artist and also loves math, by the way, used to do math equations like for fun. I'm a super nerd. And
I did not do that.
You'll say, no, I did. I full on. Oh my God, give me a multiplication table. I'm ready. Time it too. You got me. But like, I'm like that quote. I'm like that's not fair to neither math nor art. But anyway, like I said, it's a small clip. If you want, I want to say this. If you want a feel good movie, I would say when I was last at the Little, I saw The Ballad of Wallace Island. And that was a really like feel good, like touch at your heartstrings kind of thing. It's now available on Peacock. So if you also haven't seen that, I would highly recommend the film. Just to give like a short premise. So it's about this guy who lives on Wallace Island. He gets all this money to have his like favorite band play. And there's like a little bit of this like tension between the two people. It's a man and a woman who used to be in a singing group that are no longer together. Both in a relationship and like not, and just not, the band's not together. And so he invites them. And so of course, hilarity, and tension ensues. But it's the motivation as to why he got those two to the island is, and of course I won't spoil it here, but it's just, again, incredibly heartfelt and it's a feel good film. Like I walked out of the little theater just going, like, that's what I needed. Yeah.
I agree. The Ballad
Yeah.
of Wallace Island
Yeah.
is such a charming
Yeah.
film. And I think that speaks to a little about what we were talking with Vulcan and Isadora, which two completely opposite movies. That would be a wild double bill, but like a same feeling where you're surprised and be like, oh, that was really good. Like I didn't, it's not a film that had a lot of like hype or marketing,
Right.
but then you watch it and you're like, why not? That was really like smart and clever and charming. It just leaves you smiling and beaming. And
It was like Misery if Kathy Bates gave hugs and not thwacks with sledgehammers. Sledgehammers to the feet. But yeah, I mean, it was a cozy movie.
if that doesn't make someone want to watch The Ballad of Wallace Island, I don't know. Like Misery, but with hugs.
But with hugs.
And love and kindness.
I don't even know what to say to that. That's mad.
So we
Did you
are
want to
going
ask
to...
Megan?
What was
Did
that?
you want to ask Megan about that?
Megan, what are your thoughts on The Ballad of Wallace Island?
Or well, we asked her
I-
if she was
I
going to
also
see
haven't
Life of Chuck.
seen that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Megan, are you going to
No,
see The
I
Life
mean-
of Chuck? Did we went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I like Mike Flanagan, but of course, I'm talking more about his horror work. So I don't know. Also, I find different things comforting. Like I thought The Substance was a comforting
Oh my
film in
God.
many ways. I guess cathartic. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jackie.
No, because sorry. We had a whole podcast
Yeah,
about
no.
it where we talked about it. That please go find that with Anomaly. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Continue, Megan.
Yeah, go on, Megan.
Oh no. No, I appreciate that because you can back me up on that. But so I mean, I think I'm coming from a slightly different viewpoint. You know that I'm interested, but I also might be a little like, okay, but like, when's that murder happen? Chuck.
Oh my God.
Go on, Chuck.
Well, I guess it depends on who you think the murderer is. I guess.
So we have a call here on line one from Deborah, who liked the portrayal of older people. So I think this is from The Ballad of Wallace Island. So we'll take a listen here. Hi, Deborah. You're live with us.
Hello. Yes, this was about the life of Chuck. I went to see the movie because it had dancing in it. And it's John Travolta or Fred Astaire. I always go for dancing. I love it. But I am older, and so often I'm sort of insulted by, the portrayal of older people. But the grandmother who, in this story is so alive and so wonderful. And the grandfather, too. I think, or the Bubby and Zadie are just such rich characters. So I appreciated that, and I sort of liked the metaphor between, the life of the world and the universe and the life of every person in that. Just you've got what is it called? You've got the world basically in your brain. That is a world in itself. And I just thought it was a beautiful movie, and the dancing made it just wonderful.
It did make me want to dance on the street on East Avenue, which probably would be a little dangerous in hindsight. So Matt, you're 3 against 1 here. On
Well,
Life
I
of
mean,
Chuck.
if we take all 3 of the ratings together and we average them out, it's still a 4. That's not too bad.
That is so good.
Changing it to half a
that's
star
nice.
as we speak.
Deborah, thank you so much for calling. We love The Life of
thanks for
Chuck.
answering.
Tell all your friends to see it as well. So yeah, before we're going to take a short break here in just a moment, we do have an email from Michael who says he has a question for me, the host. Happily watched many movies at the Little since 1984. Does the Little have a list of movies that have played there? So yeah, you can go to thelittle.org for all of our movies playing. And I also want to take this opportunity, Jared, at the Dryden, there's a great summer movie lineup too. We got some new stuff. We have some repertory titles. Do you want to give us a little overview of some stuff that is coming up at the Dryden?
Sure, yeah.
You don't
I
have to go through it all, but whatever you want to highlight right now,
Well,
and tell people where they can find these films.
Oh,
as well.
sure. Yeah. If you go to eastman.org/Dryden, you can find all of the films for the next month anyway. We update them every month. But the big thing, I guess, we were saying, we found out between the Little and the Dryden that we're playing the same movie at the same time at the end of July, Pavements, about the rock band Pavement. But so the Little's going to show it for an entire week, which is fantastic. More people are going to get to see it. I've been dropping hints around, but I just emailed the filmmaker yesterday to confirm, and he has confirmed Alex Ross Perry will be here for our screening of Pavements on Tuesday, July 29th. And he's going to stick around the next day to introduce his other new documentary, Video Heaven, which is about home video culture from the early times up till basically it died, or at least the VHS died. It certainly went down, but it's a wonderful documentary, and I'm so happy that we're going to have him here for both of those. The big thing right now that we're still doing is the Kubrick series on Saturdays. So this Saturday is Barry Lyndon, and we're going to finish up with Full Metal Jacket on July 12th. And on Kubrick's birthday, on July 26th, we're going to have a special 35mm screening of Eyes Wide Shut. I'm so excited. So those two new movies, the two Alex Ross Perry movies, also fit in with our Rochester premieres, which we're having. We've got a couple films in Chinese language, Blue Sun Palace, which is actually an American film, but it was filmed by a diasporic director in New York City, and Caught by the Tides, which is the new Jia Zhangka film. And those are going to be back-to-back on 9th and 10th. The other new film we have is Television Event in August, and that's going to be on the 80th anniversary of the devastation at Hiroshima. This is about a documentary, again, about the creation and distribution of The Day After, the very effective 1983 television movie about a fictional nuclear disaster happening in the United States and the big uproar that came out of it. So that's actually directed by Jeff Daniels.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting documentary, and we're very excited about that.
So hopefully someone's like writing all this down or go to the website more likely.
Please, yes.
And the Alex Ross Perry bit, that's a little breaking news that we have here on Connections.
Yeah,
then,
it was the first time we're putting it out publicly. Like I said, I've been dropping hints around, but I haven't, felt comfortable to say it until he said yes. Or actually, he said sure.
That is
So,
exciting.
yeah.
And Pavements is a film, and I'm sure that you feel the same way. I've had a lot of people ask us, like, we want to see this movie at the Little. I like the band, so I think that's an exciting.
It's a really fascinating structure for the documentary as well. Not the time to talk about it. Maybe we could come back and just have
Do
a
another
post-mortem.
hour.
Yeah, because there's enough to really grab into there.
All right, so we've been looking back at summer movies that have already come out. We're gonna, in a moment, take a short break, and then we'll talk about looking forward, what summer movies we're looking forward to. If you're just joining us, again, I'm joined by Matt Passantino, City Magazine film writer, Jared Case with the Dryden Theater at the George Eastman Museum. We have Jackie McGriff of the Our Voices Project, and joining us by video, we have Megan Murphy of Anomaly Film Festival. We will be back with more summer movie preview right after this break.
Support for your public radio station comes from our members and from Mary Cariola Center, providing education and life skills solutions designed to empower individuals and the families of those with complex disabilities. Mary Cariola Center, transforming lives of people with disabilities. More at marycariola.org.
We are back with a summer movie preview here on Connections. So again, the first half of the show, we talked about what summer movies that we saw that really delighted us, or in some cases, maybe we didn't like. So now let's look ahead. Let's look at the blockbusters. I mentioned some in the intro. We have a lot of sequels. We have a lot of reboots. We have some original stuff. There's probably something for everyone. So let's start with you, Megan. You've been very patient on our video call. What summer movie are you looking forward to? What's a Megan Murphy movie here for us?
Well, I have several, but I feel like I gotta rep my fellow Megan first of all. That we're getting Megan 2.0,
Spelled
like us
differently, though,
Megans,
right?
we hang together. Yeah, well, yeah, no, I have an H, which is the inhibitor chip. You're welcome. Don't worry about it. But I guess I like they're doing the Terminator 2 thing where hey, this character's really popular and we want to bring it back, but we can't just have a character who kills our protagonist or tries to. So the idea of well, we'll just make her fight a larger threat. Is it super original? No, but I love this killer doll that looks like an American Girl doll, but runs on all fours and pulls ears off. What's not to love? And I appreciate that this kind of strange idea has kind of become enough to have a sequel, and one that's almost I don't know if I call it a blockbuster, but it's people know who Megan is. I'm a little disappointed that Akela Cooper didn't write it, because I think her work on the first Megan and Malignant is wonderfully unhinged. but we'll see what happens here. I just want to see her like dance and be sassy, and
And
just
rip
do
ears
a little
off.
summer killing. Yeah. Listen, it's style. It's style. Anyone can stab, but a killer dog, like that's she cares about what she does.
She has a passion for it. We like that. I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Going the Terminator 2 route is not a bad idea. Terminator 2, I like better than the original Terminator, and I think that's probably the popular opinion. So maybe they're onto something with just kind of taking that formula for the sequel.
I mean, I agree. Terminator 2 is amazing, and if Megan 2.0 is anywhere near Terminator 2, yes, I'm excited, but I don't want to like judge this movie as if it's a movie I've already written in my head. I gotta let Megan be Megan, like let her go where she wants to. I'm not gonna tell her what to do.
Just because you're a Megan too doesn't mean you can tell Megan without an H what to do.
I know I can't because I am a Megan.
It's the Megan code. We have to keep to the Megan code.
The Megan code.
Jackie, do you have a summer movie that you're looking forward to?
Let's see. Well, okay. I have to. Anyone who knows me knows that I have opinions about any iteration of Superman. So, I'll say this: as someone who loves the Christopher Reeve movies, I did enjoy Man of Steel. I know it wasn't as popular. It's like trying to go like grittier. I actually liked that. Yeah. I will say for this one, I'm liking seeing. I was hesitant about James Gunn taking this on, and I didn't know how to feel about it until I saw more trailers, and so as new trailers have been coming out, and the marketing also too for this a little bit has been funny. I'm liking that they're adding more humor back into it because I felt like that was like the original kind of vibe and feel of the Christopher Reeve movies. I just hope it's not a carbon copy. That's my only thing. I'm looking forward to it and seeing this new cast and seeing what they do with this. Yeah. So, but I just hope it's not a carbon copy, like I said.
So we actually do have a clip from Superman. So it's from the trailer. So we can get to that in a second. But I'll ask our panel: Are we excited for Superman? Or are we kind of superheroed out here, Matt? Is this?
I mean, I'll see it.
So many eye rolls. This hour.
I know. I always forget we're on video.
No, it's iconic. I can't see if Megan's eye rolling. So
No, I'm all in for James Gunn. The fact that Guy Gardner is going to be the Green Lantern, and for folks who don't know, he's the jerk Green Lantern. So I'm very interested in how you take a warm character like Superman and then play him against the most arrogant Green Lantern there is.
All right, let's take a listen to this clip, which is from the trailer.
Superman. The most powerful being on planet Earth. We finally meet. Now, as planned, I'll destroy you. And of course, that reporter you always do interviews with. Who raised you as a child? I'll kill them too.
No matter what you do to me, Luther, your plans won't work.
Wrap it up.
Good luck with that.
So that was a clip from Superman. So the narration was Nicholas Hoult, who plays, if you couldn't tell, Lex Luthor, threatening Superman. I think one thing that the commentary on Superman that I've seen is in the past, I think one of the problems they fall into is he's the Man of Steel. He's invincible. Like, how do you make an exciting movie about this? Someone who's just invincible. And this movie, in the trailer, I think you could hear a little bit of Superman wheezing. And if you see the visual, he's laying on the ground, he's bleeding. So I think it's a little more vulnerable take on Superman, which I appreciate. There is also, which you'll see in one of the trailers, I don't know if it's this one or the teaser trailer, there's a super dog. Which is very exciting. Jackie, does Super Dog do anything? Does that make you more excited for Superman?
I mean, it doesn't necessarily change anything other than the fact that they're, a little bit more like getting closer like to the comics and everything like that. Like that's the only thing it's doing. I'm like, whether it had crypto in there or not, like that's fine.
So this hour is going by very quickly. So we'll just keep going. We could talk about Superman for longer, but we'll keep chugging along. Jared, any summer movies that you're really looking forward to?
Well, it was interesting because I had put out a list or put together a list of things that I might be looking forward to. And the ones actually that I'm most looking forward to are the smaller films. I'm cautiously optimistic about Superman, but concerned that there's so many reshoots going on. But Ari Aster's Eddington coming out in July.
July 18th,
Very excited about that because it's Ari Aster. And we've got two other great directors putting out films in August. Honey Don't from Ethan Coen and Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest, which is an update and adaptation of another favorite director, Akira Kurosawa's High and Low. So looking forward to those ones.
I was going to say, all three of those are playing at the Little, and High and Low is like at the Little as well,
yes,
Kurosawa. So you could see, if you're at the Little in Dryden this summer, just hang out on East Avenue.
Downtown cinemas, that's where it's at.
We like the blockbusters too, but I think that's really
and we both have eateries you can stay at to just eat in between the films.
Oh, I do love the Little Cafe, of course, but Open Face at the George Eastman Museum, I'm a huge fan of. Right as I'm saying we're running low on hour, I'm like, let me talk about sandwiches.
Menus.
So Matt, I'm going to in a second ask you what summer movie you're excited for, but first we do have Barbara from Brighton on line one here, so let's hear from her. Hi, Barbara, you're on with us.
Hi there. I just wanted to remind folks that the horror scene has such deep roots. My grandparents, Alice Ice and Bert French, were in a film called The Vampire from 1913 that the Eastman House has, and they were most famous. They traveled all over the States and all over Europe, and they were a big sensation at the time because, my grandfather did the choreography, but he and she danced in these various dances that he developed, and this one was inspired by a painting called The Vampire from 1897 by Philip Burne-Jones. And I just wanted to say, it's not a new thing, but it has deep roots.
I love that so much. Thank you for calling in, Barbara. We love watching some old movies too in the summer. Older movies. I love that it's at the George Eastman Museum.
Oh yeah,
That's
I know
fun.
Exactly what she's talking about. Yeah,
that's amazing. Well, we'll have to screen it sometime, right? Thank you so much for calling in, Barbara.
Sure.
This hour is truly going by very quickly. I do want to talk about sandwiches, but we won't. Matt, summer movie. Give me it.
It's a bit of a light summer, but Weapons.
Oh, okay.
Only have seen the teaser and kind of did that with hands over my eyes because I didn't really want to know anything about it.
We played the teaser the first hour, so if some's been listening to us, they'll have a little idea.
I really liked Barbarian, so that alone will get me excited for Zach Cregger's next movie. I think that's his name. So I'm looking forward to that one.
I'll just give a little recap of what that's about. So if those who don't know, basically in the trailer, what they tease is one night a class from their elementary grade students are young, and the entire class, they just get up out of their beds, walk out of their house, and disappear. And it's just this one woman's classroom. It doesn't happen to anything else. So it's got a very mysterious hook. And movies like that are tricky because that's a great hook. And sometimes like that mystery is so good and you're loving it, but you have to nail that ending. Otherwise it kind of leaves you a little empty.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious
Me
and
too.
on board.
Yeah, my curiosity is peaked on that one for sure. So
Yeah.
that's why that's probably like my one I'm most anticipating.
Okay, and sorry I interrupted you. What else are you looking forward to?
I mean, it looks terrible, but as I get older, nostalgia has taken over my brain. So like, I'm totally into Freakier Friday because the 2003 movie is wonderful. It looks terrible, but I'm excited for that because I would like it to be 2003 again. Life was simpler.
But Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis are back.
I'm in. The first one's so good. I have never seen a Naked Gun movie. And I think Naked Gun looks pretty fun. And also co-starring should-be Academy Award winner Pamela Anderson from last year's The Last Showgirl. So I'm gonna go. I'll support that one for my new favorite actress, Pamela Anderson.
And I think it's really interesting. We've been talking about the sequels and reboots and remakes, but Freaky Friday and The Naked Gun, like, were these really hot properties that like people were clamoring for and we have to remake? Like, what's your take on this, Matt? Do you think this is just running out of ideas, or was there some like reason why it's these movies?
But I mean, Freakier Friday is pandering to people like me who saw Freaky Friday in 2003 and loved it and still love it because it's a very fun movie. So we'll see how it goes. Doesn't worry, but I'm there.
Yeah,
I am there.
Like you said you hadn't seen the Naked Gun movies, and I don't know if our panel has, but I watched them very young, and I think they're very silly and funny. And this looks like a similar vibe, and some of it's probably a little sophomoric humor, but it works, and sometimes that's what you want.
And it's kind of, I mean, even though it's like a reboot, remake, whatever it is, like it's kind of nice to see Liam Neeson like not in these one-word titles like Detour and Retribution, like these generic Memory, like these very generic action movies that he's been making since 2009, whenever Taken came out. So, and he looks. I mean, I've chuckled a few times during the trailer. So,
if it got a chuckle out of you, that's pretty solid.
I give that 3 eye rolls.
Megan, I'm going to ask you this because I want to ask you about the new Jurassic World Rebirth. So last summer we played Jurassic Park, and Anomaly was our community partner. So now when I think of the Jurassic Park movies, the Jurassic World movies, my brain kind of goes to the Anomaly team and their wonderful film festival. Megan, are you looking forward to another Jurassic World?
Oh, I mean, I feel bad because that was a really nice intro, and I should be all like, "Yeah, Jurassic World." But I love Jurassic Park, but that's also partly nostalgia, like a big Spielberg blockbuster with these beautiful effects, but also that music and just the wonder, right? The wonder that's in that first one, right? Where literally where like Sam Neill like turns Laura Dern's head, and it's not to a scene of horror or destruction. It's, oh my God, look at this amazing creature, right? I haven't felt that in the newer ones. But that's just me, right? Like that's just, I want everyone to have a good time with dinosaur movies, right? Because yay, dinosaur movies. So, maybe I always have hope for like the next one that maybe I'll feel that moment again. Maybe.
Their campaign should be, dinosaur movies. Because that's what it is. I just want to watch a dinosaur movie. Jackie,
stop trying to improve the T-Rex. She's perfect. She's the queen. You keep trying to make bigger ones, but you can't improve on a classic. Okay, I'm fine.
They do keep doing that. We're like, this dinosaur is even bigger and more dangerous. But you're right. A T-Rex, like, what's more fearsome than a T-Rex? Jackie, are you Jurassic World in or out?
I'm kind of like where Megan is. I'm actually kind of where Megan is, which is hilarious that I say that right next to like what I said about Superman. Again, cautiously optimistic. However, the Jurassic World movies just don't capture the same thing for me. And part of it, yes, is to that nostalgia. But I will say this because we do not have time to go into this next thing that I'm about to say. But like if Hollywood, I don't know, would fund and actually uplift more independent filmmakers, we'd have those original stories that people actually want rather than the sequels and the prequels and the reboots that Hollywood continues to push. So, but like I said, I don't have time to get into that because I could give you a whole essay, TED Talk, all the things. Anyway, back to you.
I'm kind of here for that. we have 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Jared, Jurassic World, is this your thing or no?
Jurassic, that series is like 2 for 6 for me. So you get the first one and the third one, and then the rest are no. But I've seen the trailer, and I'm cautiously optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the cast looks fun, and maybe, yeah, I'll see it certainly.
So, are there any other out of these big reboots or anything? Is there any movie that you're looking forward to? That was probably how I was going to wrap up. But is there a summer movie that you'd recommend, or not recommend, but one that you're looking forward to?
One we haven't talked about much is F1, which is another one that's like, could it be? Yeah, maybe it could be. Okay. I did enjoy Top Gun Maverick, but not much into racing since Days of Thunder. But we'll see. Again, I'll see it.
All right. Jackie, any summer movies that it's like your movie, you wanna talk about it while we have a couple minutes left?
Let's see. I'm thinking about going to see The Materialists tonight. Again, it's purely for Celine's song, because I trust in her, with Past Lives. So we're gonna see if it's. I'm just hoping it's not cliche. Please don't.
Oh
be
no,
cliche.
it's definitely not cliche.
Okay. Yeah. See, I'm like, yeah, Celine's song. I'm singing it for that.
So I should mention Materialist is actually closing Thursday at the
yes,
Little.
No.
exactly.
Please go
Which is why I'm
watch it.
seeing it tonight.
Because Past Lives was my favorite film of
Oh
2023.
my God, it wrecked me. Like, it was so good, and I'm ready to be heard again. So I'm going to go see The Materialists. Also, because I was just like rewatching the series, Downton Abbey 3 is coming out in September.
Which is technically still summer.
It's still
Yeah.
summer. So yeah.
Our little theater audience is very excited for. They say it's the final Downton Abbey.
Just please, I love it, but also okay, cool, we can move on. Like it's fine, but I'm still gonna see it, obviously. Yeah.
So many sequels.
So many sequels.
But the problem is, I watch them. I'm excited for them.
It's just fun. Like, you just want to turn your brain off. It's fine. It's rich people doing rich things. Like, it's okay. Whatever. Yeah.
I watch all the Mission Impossible movies, even though the other one was kind of a bust, the newer one. Matt, real quick, what are you looking forward to this summer?
I'm not trying to pander to the table. The 2 movies I'm looking forward to the most are Eyes Wide Shut at the Dryden and Seven at the Little. So, and I mean that sincerely. And in Jumanji, as I screamed in your face in excitement at the movies the other night.
So throwback films at the
Yes.
Little. I should mention Eyes Wide Shut, 1999 movie. We're doing a live podcast, Movies in a Microphone, July 14th at the Little. Matt is going to be on that panel. We're drafting 1999 movies.
I'm going to be obnoxiously competitive.
It's going to be so fun. So yeah, I think our takeaway, go see films at the Little, the Dryden Summer Movie Preview. Thank you to my guests, Matt Passantino, Jackie McGriff, Jared Case, Megan Murphy via phone. Thanks for listening in. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, Megan.
Bye, Megan.
This program is a production of WXXI Public Radio. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of this station, its staff, management, or underwriters. The broadcast is meant for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or use in another medium without expressed written consent of WXXI is strictly prohibited. Connections with Evan Dawson is available as a podcast. Just click on the Connections link at WXXInews.org.